Hi there and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's dive into today's top stories. £27 million Arsenal player is a generational talent. Incredible stat after Liverpool win proves it. Mikel Arteta will surely come away from Arsenal's win over Liverpool feeling incredibly proud. He produced a tactical masterclass. Arteta's vision was justified by his team's individual performances, and a rare mistake stemming from William Saliba didn't prove costly. It's not very often the Frenchman asks his teammates to bail him out. He is normally on the other side of the request. But after his indecision wasn't helped by David Raya, Saliba will have been very pleased to see the second and third goals fly past Alisson. That being said, an incredible statistic has now emerged after the game, proving just how special Saliba has been and can be at Arsenal. Yes, he did make a mistake, but the defender has been almost flawless since he arrived at the club properly. And as many fans will say, the statistics ultimately don't lie. Moreover, following Arsenal's win against Liverpool, Saliba has now the most wins of any player in Arsenal history after his first 50 league starts. That superb statistic was shared by data expert Harvey Downs on X, a list that included some familiar names. Saliba now has 36 wins in his 50 league starts for Arsenal, bettering the likes of Lauren, Campbell, and Kolo Toure in second with 35. Interestingly, Aaron Ramsdale is also sat on 35, further reminder of how unfortunate he has been to be displaced. Ben White 34 and Martin Odegaard 32 are the other two players on the list who are still playing for the club today. Of course, Mikel Arteta will be so keen for the names mentioned to now lead this club to serious silverware, much like Saliba. Declan Rice is also a player who deserves to win trophies, and he is showing every sign that he will in North London. But following a good win against Liverpool, Arsenal will now need to focus for a very tough trip to West Ham United next weekend. Wright unhappy with the 28-year-old Arsenal player versus Liverpool. Arsenal might have ended up beating Liverpool, but it could have been a lot different with what happened just before halftime. The Gunners had cruised to a 1-0 lead in the opening 45 minutes and looked the better team by some way as the halftime break neared. However, a disastrous mistake involving William Saliba, Gabriel and David Raya in the Arsenal goal ensured Liverpool got back into the game with an own goal. Luckily for the Gunners, an equally shocking second half moment from Virgil van Dijk got Arsenal back into a winning position. However, that didn't stop Arsenal legend Ian Wright lamenting the role goalkeeper David Raya played in Liverpool's equaliser. Watching on for Premier League productions, Wright felt the ultimate blame fell with Raya for the goal. He said, "I think both of them, it's communication and it's poor. For me, the keeper should see Saliba's position and come and get it because Saliba would have to clear across his goal. The keeper just had to come and get everything." At 28 years old, David Raya is one of the more experienced players in this Arsenal team, and given he was brought in because of a few errors from Aaron Ramsdale, he needs to be better. Yes, on this occasion, there was more than just him at fault, but he was glued to his line and, as Wright says, should simply have come and claimed the ball. As the season tumbles along towards the final third now, Arsenal cannot afford to have mistakes like this from their key players. Raya is obviously the number one in Mikel Arteta's side, but he has to make sure he shows why this was a big error, and on another day it proves more costly. Arsenal then must learn their lesson with this sort of thing. Gary Neville seriously unimpressed with one Arsenal player versus Liverpool. Another Arsenal game, and another game where Kai Havertz failed to live up to the price tag and expectations. The German striker played as the main focal point, with Gabriel Jesus out, but in the main offered very little in terms of a goal threat for Mikel Arteta's side. It was a performance that once again epitomized his time at Arsenal so far. Havertz just seems off it at times, and there was a key moment when he ran through in the second half that just about summed up his form in an Arsenal shirt. And picking up on the piece of play where Havertz allowed Alexis McAllister to simply run back and knock him off the ball, Gary Neville once again criticized the German. Speaking on Sky Sports Comms, former Man United defender Neville was far from impressed with what he saw from Havertz. He said, "I just thought it was poor play from Havertz. He should never give McAllister a chance to get in there. He shows too much to the Liverpool midfielder. It's not a penalty for me at all. I think we'll be sitting here talking about Arsenal's lack of cutting edge. Been here 4 or 5 times this season where I have thought that centre forward position needs to be dealt with. It's not just the centre forward, it's the rest of them as well, and the mentality of scoring goals." The comments from Neville on Havertz are becoming a bit of a recurring theme in the Germans' time at Arsenal so far. Havertz was indecisive in this particular moment, and it simply allowed Liverpool the chance to win the ball back. Whether or not it ends up costing the Gunners as the season goes on remains to be seen, but if they do miss out on the title, then there will be fingers pointed at the signing of Havertz. Gary Neville says Arsenal star was upset with Arteta's decision versus Liverpool. Gary Neville noticed that Gabriel Martinelli was not best pleased with Mikel Arteta at one stage during the second half as Arsenal beat Liverpool on Sunday. Gabriel Martinelli had a huge say in the 3-1 win, which threw the Premier League title race wide open. Martinelli should have set up the opening goal for Bukayo Saka during the first half, but Saka missed the chance to head home. But the Brazilian that scored the crucial second Arsenal goal, he capitalized on a mix-up between Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker to tap the ball into an empty net from the edge of the box. Martinelli looked a lot more like his old self against Liverpool, so that may explain why he was visibly annoyed when he was taken off for Leandro Trossard towards the end of the game. Speaking on Sky Sports, Gary Neville said he understood why Martinelli did not want to leave the field before discussing the mix-up between Van Dijk and Alisson. He said, "I'm not surprised he is upset. He's been such a threat. The second goal won't happen too many times. They are two such great players. There is a quality and respect. They are not going to rip each other and say, 'What the hell were you doing?'" Liverpool actually went into Sunday's clash with the best defensive record in the Premier League, but you would not have known that from how their backline performed. Arsenal gave them all sorts of problems, and Martinelli was perhaps the most impressive of the lot. Certainly, he seemed to have plenty of joy up against Ibrahima Konate and Trent Alexander-Arnold. It has been a difficult campaign for Martinelli so far. All of the Arsenal attack have struggled to replicate their form from last season, and the 22-year-old is no exception, but he now appears to be finding his best form again, so it's hardly surprising that he wanted to stay out there on Sunday. £50 million Arsenal player spotted going absolutely mad on the bench against Liverpool. As fiery as the Arsenal game was on the pitch against Liverpool, it certainly wasn't quiet on the bench either. Mikel Arteta's side ended up securing a brilliant 3 points at the Emirates, points that could prove a catalyst for a renewed title challenge. Perhaps these few weeks playing underdog have suited Arsenal following their damaging defeats over the festive period. It did always feel as if the reaction to those defeats had been hyperbolized. Even the best teams will have bad moments across a season, but Arsenal proved again yesterday just how ready they are to compete for all the biggest honors. That being said, there was a rather novel moment around the 32nd minute of the first half. Seen on Sky Sports live coverage of the game, Arsenal number 2 Aaron Ramsdale was incredibly annoyed at events that were unfolding ahead of him. Referee Anthony Taylor had been fixing some technical issues with his equipment in front of the Arsenal bench, delaying the game, and Ramsdale certainly wasn't pleased. The goalkeeper was gesturing strongly for the referee to stop the clock. He clearly didn't want Arsenal to lose any time. Of course, just moments before that delay, Ben White had been booked for time wasting, and it seemed as if the irony wasn't quite lost on Ramsdale. It does often cause attention when the camera pans to Ramsdale sitting on the bench, as it did during Arsenal's victory over Liverpool. It still doesn't quite feel right. Whilst David Raya is mostly doing a stellar job, it does feel odd seeing a keeper of Ramsdale's quality on the sidelines. It's understandable that Arsenal will perhaps hold out for a fee close to £50 million for Ramsdale should they sell in the summer. He is that level of player, but perhaps their position will be made weaker by his lack of games and maybe his eventual desire to leave. Gary Neville left stunned by £12 million Arsenal players passing against Liverpool. On what could be a great victory for Arsenal against Liverpool, Gary Neville was left really impressed by one performance. Mikel Arteta was a vision of joy streaming down the touchline after Leandro Trossard scored Arsenal's third. The relief was clear to see. Although Arsenal played excellently against Liverpool in the first half, as they did in the FA Cup, it seems things might not have gone their way. A rare moment of indecision by William Saliba, perhaps which could have been helped by David Raya too, caused a lot of nerves, but ultimately, Arsenal's excellent performance resulted in a deserved 3 points, and when watching the game for Sky Sports, Gary Neville was blown away by Jorginho's performance for Arsenal against Liverpool. The pundit went on to award Jorginho the Player of the Match award at full-time, but was praising the Italian throughout. It was a bold decision for Arteta to include his £12 million midfielder, as he often does in big games, and it paid dividends. As well as his praise at full-time, Neville was quite stunned by a Jorginho pass into Gabriel Martinelli in the first half. It was 1-1 at the time, and perhaps Jorginho's composure in that moment should have seen Arsenal take the league. Speaking around the 44th minute, Neville said, "Really good from Jorginho, he's had a great first half." He continued shortly after, "It's a beautiful pass from Jorginho into Martinelli." Of course, Arsenal fans will probably be calling for Jorginho to play in a lot more games before the season ends. Thomas Partey's latest injury setback did come as a blow before the weekend, but Jorginho's performance should allay those fears. Neville was right to point out just how good Jorginho was for Arsenal against Liverpool. He deserved the praise, and with a tough trip to West Ham United coming up, he may be needed once again. Arsenal now planning to sign perfect £69 million Ivan Toney alternative. They have already met with his representatives. Arsenal are looking at the summer transfer window already and could make a big money move to sign Napoli striker Victor Osan. Osimhen is one of the names on Arsenal's list when it comes to a new striker. Ivan Toney was believed to be top of that list in January, but Osimhen's name was also mentioned as well. The Nigerian hotshot is wanted by Chelsea too, who are keen to sign a top striker themselves. However, according to the Mirror, it's Arsenal who could make the most serious move to try and bring Osimhen to England. According to the report, Arsenal are keen on bringing Osimhen to the Premier League and have been on his trail for quite some time. It's stated that the Gunners have already met with the representatives of the Nigerian as far back as 2022, and that interest and contact has remained in place. Arsenal would need to match a new release clause of north of £100 million in Osimhen's contract. That figure would bring a healthy profit for Napoli, who paid around £69 million to sign the striker from Lille back in the summer of 2020. The Gunners' need for a new number 9 has been highlighted all season long. Further, Gabriel Jesus has picked up yet another injury, bringing into question his reliability in the final third, while, according to Mika Richards, he is the former Man City defender, suggested a few weeks back that Osimhen is ideal for Arsenal, and you have to feel he is right. Osimhen has electric pace and can finish, and after proving himself in Serie A and League One, the move to England and success in the Premier League seems the next logical step. If Arsenal can somehow pull this one off, then they have suddenly got one of the best strikers in the world, and it makes them a different beast overnight. As we wrap up today's Arsenal news, remember to stay tuned for daily updates right here on the channel. Don't miss out on the latest updates, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like if you found this information valuable. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.